What happens when America's sweetheart meets her match in an interview that goes completely off the rails? Well, grab your coffee because this is about to get wild. The Today with Jenna and Friends show is running its usual morning lineup when Carrie Underwood walks on set, radiant in a cream blazer, her blonde waves perfectly styled. The audience is buzzing, phones out, ready to capture every moment. Jenna Bush Hagar greets her warmly, but things take a sharp turn. What about the allegations regarding your charitable foundation? Jenna asks, leaning forward with a strange intensity. Carrie's jaw tightens, her smile unwavering, but the tension is palpable. Jenna pulls out her phone, scrolling. Reports say less than 30% of donations reach the intended recipients. How do you justify spending $20,000 on a conference table while children go without? Carrie's voice is calm but sharp. Jenna, I came here to talk about music, not be ambushed with incomplete accusations. My foundation is fully transparent. We publish financial reports every year. We help children, fund music programs, build schools. This isn't about office furniture. The audience shifts uncomfortably as the confrontation escalates. Jenna pushes, but Carrie holds her ground. Transparency? Let's talk about how you ambushed me without fact-checking. My supporters know my heart, my mission, and they know I've never misused donations. Every cent is accounted for. We have an A+ rating with Charity Watchdogs. That conference table? Donated. Used for meetings deciding on million-dollar grants. Jenna tries to respond, but Carrie isn't done. We built schools, funded scholarships, supported music programs. You focused on percentages and furniture, not lives changed. And you expect me to justify that in 10 minutes on live TV. She looks directly at the camera. I'll continue my work, make music, support causes, and be transparent. And you, Jenna, will live with the fact that you tried to destroy someone's reputation based on half-truths. With that, she walks toward the exit, purse in hand, pausing to address her fans. Your trust means everything. I do this for you. And I will never take that responsibility lightly. She disappears behind the cameras, leaving Jenna and the audience stunned, unsure whether to clap, cheer, or stay silent. The morning show will never be the same. Hugh Grant sat a little straighter. The casual ease he had walked in with dissolving inch by inch. Lorraine's dismissive wave lingered in the air like smoke. And even the camera operators, professionals, trained to ignore chaos, found themselves glancing at each other in disbelief. Something dangerous had begun, and there was no turning back. I think that's rather unfair, Hugh said. His voice still controlled, but edged with steel. Independent films matter. They give actors a chance to explore stories that big studios won't touch. Lorraine let out a sharp laugh. Oh, Hugh, come on. You do those films to feel artistic. Let's not pretend they mean anything to the public. She leaned back as if she had delivered a clever punchline, but no one laughed. Hugh inhaled slowly. Did you just call my career choices meaningless? If the shoe fits, she replied, shrugging carelessly. You've been coasting for years, playing the same charming, stammering character. At some point, doesn't it get sad? That word, sad. It hung there, vibrating with insult. Hugh's fingers curled slightly on his knee. Sad, he echoed softly. Is that really how you see it? The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The silence grew so thick that even Lorraine hesitated, but only for a second. She pressed on. Viewers want authenticity, Hugh, not some recycled performance. You're 58. Isn't it time to stop hiding behind the lovable fool act? That was the moment everything snapped. Hugh stood up, so abruptly his chair screeched across the floor. A jolt ran through the studio. Every producer, every runner, every camera operator froze, suddenly aware that this was no staged moment. This was real, raw, and spiraling. You think you're speaking for viewers? Hugh said, looking down at her with a gaze no one had seen from him before. You think they enjoy watching you humiliate people who come onto your show in good faith? Lorraine's smile faltered, just slightly, enough to betray the crack beginning in her confidence. Oh, don't be so sensitive, she tried to joke. This is how television works. We push boundaries. We challenge people. Hugh laughed once, a sound completely devoid of humor. Challenge? Lorraine, this isn't challenging. This is cruelty dressed up as journalism. The crew held their breath. Lorraine straightened defensively. You actors are so dramatic. The moment someone questions you, you fall apart. Hugh lowered his voice, but the intensity only sharpened. No. What's dramatic is watching someone mistake meanness for honesty. For the first time, Lorraine had no immediate comeback. Hugh's presence filled the room now, commanding, unignorable. And Lorraine realized too late that she had pushed the wrong man on the wrong morning. The studio felt different now, charged, unstable, as if the air itself sensed the shifting balance of power. Lorraine Kelly, long considered unshakable in her own domain, suddenly looked smaller in her chair. Hugh Grant, no longer the soft-spoken guest she expected to bulldoze, stood before her with the quiet authority of a man who had finally reached his limit. Lorraine attempted to regain footing. "Please, sit down," she said, forcing calm into her voice. "Let's just reset. Talk about your new film. Keep things light and fun." Hugh stared at her, disbelief flickering across his face. "Light and fun," he repeated. "You spend 10 minutes tearing apart my career, and then decide it's time to turn on the charm?" She opened her mouth, but he didn't give her the chance. You don't get to insult someone's life's work and then pretend it never happened. The moment the atmosphere gets uncomfortable, the studio crew exchanged glances. They had seen arguments before, awkward interviews, unexpected clashes, but nothing like this. This was not a celebrity meltdown or a dramatic TV stunt. This was a reckoning. Lorraine's voice grew tighter. "You, viewers expect honesty from me. They trust me to ask the hard questions. That's my job." Hugh shook his head slowly. "If you think viewers want bullying, maybe it's time to reevaluate your job." That hit her hard. A flicker of something, hurt, anger, fear, passed through her eyes. But pride pushed her to strike back. "You actors are all the same," she snapped, hiding behind your charm, terrified of real criticism. "Maybe that's why you cling to those safe romantic roles. You can't handle being challenged." Hugh took a step closer, not threatening, but commanding. "You want real criticism?" he asked quietly. "Here it is. You've convinced yourself that cruelty equals honesty, that attacking people equals journalism. But it doesn't. It just makes you look desperate." Lorraine's breath caught. She wasn't used to being the one scrutinized. "I've been in television for 25 years, she protested, grasping for stability. "I've interviewed prime ministers, global icons. I know entertainment." 25 years of what? Hugh asked, his tone devastatingly calm. "Reading scripted questions? Pretending to care about people you've never met? That's not interviewing. That's just showing up." The words landed like a blow. Lorraine's facade of confidence finally faltered. She looked at him, really looked, and saw a man who had nothing left to lose in this conversation. And for the first time, she seemed to realize she had met someone who would not back down, who would not tolerate disrespect, who would not be intimidated by the bright lights or the millions watching. Hugh Grant had taken control of the room, and Lorraine Kelly had no idea how to get it back. The atmosphere in the studio had shifted from tense to explosive, yet Hugh Grant stood with a calmness that felt almost unnerving. Lorraine Kelly, once the queen of effortless on-air control, sat stiffly in her chair, her confidence leaking away with every breath. The cameras kept rolling, hungry for every second of this unfolding disaster. Hugh stepped closer to her desk, not aggressively, but with the steady presence of a man who had decided he would no longer tolerate being mistreated. "You want to talk about authenticity?" he said, his voice softer now, almost gentle but laced with undeniable truth. "Let's talk about the real you." Lorraine blinked rapidly. "You don't know anything about me," she murmured, her voice trembling with both anger and something more vulnerable. "I know enough," Hugh replied. "I know you didn't start your career this way. You used to care. You used to treat people with kindness. What happened to that person, Lorraine? When did she disappear?" The question hit her like a punch to the chest. For the first time, she couldn't hide behind sarcasm or bravado. She swallowed hard, unable to form an answer. Hugh continued, "I came here to talk about a film I'm proud of, a film made by people who work their hearts out. And instead, I walked into an ambush." He shook his head. "Not because you wanted a meaningful conversation, but because you wanted drama. You wanted cruelty. You wanted a moment that would go viral." Lorraine's hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. "This is television," she whispered, trying to gather strength. "You don't survive unless you keep people interested. And you think cruelty is the way to do that?" Hugh countered, You think hurting people makes good television? Her silence answered for her. Hugh leaned forward slightly. You say I hide behind charm. But what exactly are you hiding behind? This persona you've created? This sharp, cutting host who confuses. Rudeness with honesty, do you really think the world needs more of that? Lorraine's throat tightened. For the first time since the confrontation began, she looked genuinely shaken, not by Hugh's anger, but by his accuracy. He placed a small paper on her desk, his publicist's number. When you're ready to apologize, he said quietly, give her a call. Not just for today, but for all the people you've treated this way. He turned to leave. Lorraine, panicked and clinging to the last shard of her pride, called out, running away again, Hugh? Just like always when things get difficult. Hugh stopped. The entire studio froze. Slowly, he turned his head. His expression was calm, tired, and utterly resolute. I'm not running, he said. I'm walking away. There's a difference. I choose not to spend another second around someone who has forgotten what it means to be human. With that, he stepped out of the studio. The cameras captured everything. A bully exposed, a persona shattered, and a moment that would follow her forever.